Thanks for joining us on Arirang News. I'm Kim Dami in Seoul. President Yoon Suk-yeol wrapped up his official visit to the Czech Republic with the adoption of an action plan and dozens of deals to forge what's being called a century-long nuclear power alliance. Israel and Hezbollah exchanged their most intense cross-border strikes since the October 7 attacks over the weekend. The UN is warning the region is on the brink of imminent catastrophe. And a gas explosion at a coal mine in Iran's South Khorasan province has killed at least 51 people, with the death toll expected to rise. A methane gas leak was reportedly behind Saturday's blast. President Yoon Suk-yeol's official visit to the Czech Republic last week wrapped up with dozens of deals between the two governments and businesses on nuclear energy cooperation and beyond. Our presidential correspondent Oh Soo-young reports from Prague.
South Korea and the Czech Republic adopted a joint action plan and dozens of deals to forge a so-called century-long nuclear power alliance. This came as President Yoon Suk-yeol made a three-day official visit to Prague, after the Czech government selected the South Korean consortium as the preferred partner to build two nuclear units at its Dukovany power plant. Yoon's trip aimed to lay the groundwork to secure the final contract, with the two governments agreeing on a set of joint measures to develop their strategic partnership, which marks a 10-year milestone in 2025.
The signing of 13 memorandums of understanding related to nuclear cooperation signifies that the institutional foundation has been firmly established. The Korea-Czech Nuclear Power Alliance means cooperation across the entire nuclear ecosystem, including technology, operations, research and development, and workforce training.
Regarding complications posed by US firm Westinghouse, which claims intellectual property rights over Korean nuclear reactor designs, the official hinted Seoul is working with Washington to overcome the dispute and forge a win-win partnership.
The Korea-US Global Nuclear Alliance means we will cooperate to enhance energy security and enter the global nuclear market through highly efficient, clean energy and nuclear power in response to the climate crisis.
With over 50 MOUs concluded during his trip, Yoon also sought to ramp up cooperation with Prague in areas beyond nuclear energy. The bilateral trade and investment promotion framework aims not only to expand trade and investment, but also collaborations across various industries. A new supply chain and energy dialogue will cover advanced manufacturing, supply chains, carbon-free and civil nuclear energy. Further deals aim to foster cooperation in batteries, railroads and transport infrastructure, and reconstruction projects in Ukraine. Joint research and development between academic institutions will expand roughly 20-fold, with South Korea increasing its contribution to $37 million over the next decade.
Joint research areas will expand from mainly bio, chemicals, and materials to common areas of interest, such as aerospace, nuclear energy, AI, digital, and quantum science and technology. Competence in advanced science and technology is directly linked to national competitiveness, and recently, global cooperation has been reorganized among countries with shared values.
Underpinning all areas of cooperation are the two countries' shared values of freedom, democracy, and rule of law amid growing geopolitical rifts and challenges. In this regard, they agree to work together to develop standards on cyberspace, collaborate on defense, and promote closer cooperation between Korea and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Prague also expressed support for Yoon's approach to peaceful unification with North Korea and efforts to denuclearize the regime. Marking 35 years of diplomatic relations next year, Seoul and Prague will implement their joint action plan for strategic partnership until 2027. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News, Prague.
The leaders of Quad countries have denounced North Korea's ballistic missile launches and continued pursuit of nuclear weapons in a joint statement following their summit over the weekend. The Quad, a security dialogue made up of the US, Japan, Australia, and India, announced the Wilmington Declaration after a summit in Wilmington, Delaware, urging the North to abide by the UN Security Council resolutions and refrain from further provocations and engage in dialogue. The four leaders also expressed concerns about the North's recent military cooperation with Russia and reaffirmed their commitment to achieve complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. South Korea's military warned North Korea that it will take stern action if trash-carrying balloons sent by the regime pose a serious threat to the South Korea's national security. The Joint Chief of Staff said the fundamental measure to put an end to the balloon campaign is to demonstrate that the enemy can gain nothing from them. Monday's message from the military comes after the North resumed sending the trash-carrying balloons across the border on Sunday, 4 days after a similar launch. Now, North Korea has sent a total of 5,500 trash balloons since late May in response to anti-Pyongyang leaflets sent across the border by South Korean activists and North Korean defectors. Now, across the U.S., this September 20th has been officially marked as a day of remembrance for soldiers who never made it back from battle. And among them, over 7,400 went missing during the Korean War. Here in Seoul, a small yet poignant ceremony was held to honor their sacrifice. Our Kim Jung-se reports.
Every year on the third Friday of September, Americans across the country honor U.S. soldiers who became prisoners of war or were designated missing in action. But this year, a new step was taken. On September 20th, U.S. President Joe Biden designated the date as National POW MIA Recognition Day. The day serves as a reminder of over 81,000 American men and women who remain missing from conflicts around the world, including more than 7,400 from the Korean War. In Seoul, at the War Memorial of Korea, a ceremony was held over the weekend. U.S. soldiers, chaplains, South Korean citizens, and supporters came together to remember those who never made it home. A solitary table was set with empty plates and glasses, symbolizing the absence of those still missing. Participants stood together as names were read aloud as a reminder of the 7,465 soldiers. Colonel Martin Cho, garrison chaplain at USAG Humphreys, said he feels a mixture of sadness and gratitude.
Thanksgiving coming up, but they have no those family members together, so very up and down emotion today. But I'm so happy today we held this historical event in Korea.
Remember Together 7697 chairman Han Jung-yun's mother was pregnant in Hwanghae-do province during the war. Wanting to leave due to the bitter cold, their fate changed when a couple of U.S. soldiers helped them board a train heading to the south.
When I saw the remains of U.S. soldiers returned from North Korea in 2018, I thought maybe those who saved my parents could be among them. That moment changed everything for me.
As the U.S. continues its efforts to account for all missing soldiers, events like these serve as reminders that these men and women are not forgotten. Chairman Han and others say they are committed to ensuring their legacy lives on. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
Israel and Hezbollah have taken a step closer to all-out war after the militant group fired over 100 rockets towards Israel on Sunday. Israel snapped back with rockets while world leaders called for restraint. Lee Seung-jae reports.
Hezbollah had threatened an attack against Israel after the Lebanese militant group accused Israel of being responsible for the large-scale detonation of communications devices that killed dozens and injured thousands others. Early Sunday, the militant group launched its deepest rocket attacks towards Israel since the outbreak of the Gaza war. Reports say over 140 rockets were fired into northern Israel, with air raid sirens blasting across the region and hundreds of thousands of people seeking shelter. Israel says while most rockets were intercepted, 4 people were wounded in the attacks. Israel also launched hundreds of strikes on Lebanon as a senior Hezbollah official declared an open-end battle was underway, with both sides on the brink of an all-out war. The rocket attacks also follows Friday's Israeli airstrike in the Lebanese capital that killed at least 45 people, including one of Hezbollah's top leaders. Meanwhile, the Israeli military raided the Al Jazeera broadcasting station in the West Bank on Sunday, forcing a shutdown for 45 days. The Israeli military said in a statement that it had conducted a legal review and determined that Al Jazeera's broadcasting was being used to incite and support terrorism, while threatening the security and public order of the region in the West Bank and the entire state of Israel. Al Jazeera, in response, strongly condemned what it called the criminal act, calling the raid an affront to press freedom and the very principles of journalism. In response to the growing conflict in the Middle East, U.S. President Joe Biden said Sunday that Washington will do everything it can to prevent a bigger war. Earlier on the same day, White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby told ABC that the U.S. does not believe a military conflict or an escalation of the war is in the best interest of Israel, adding that Washington is holding direct discussions with the Israelis. Speaking to CNN, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said he fears the possibility of transforming Lebanon into another Gaza. UN Special Coordinator for Lebanon also warned that the Middle East was on the brink of an imminent catastrophe, adding that no military solution would make either side safe. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
An explosion caused by a gas leak at a coal mine in eastern Iran has killed at least 51 people. A rescue operation is reportedly being hindered by an accumulation of gas at the site. Ian Jin reports.
Iranian state media said Sunday that 51 people were killed in an explosion at a coal mine in Iran's South Khorasan province, 540 kilometers southeast of the capital Tehran. The explosion, which occurred, according to IRNA News, in blocks B and C of a section of the Tabas mine, operated by a private Iranian firm, the Madanju Company, at 9 p.m. on Saturday night, also left around 20 people injured. The governor of South Khorasan said there were 69 workers in the blocks at the time of the explosion, 22 people in Block C and 47 in Block B, adding that it's unclear how many survivors are trapped inside the mine. Reports also said the explosion was caused by a methane gas leak. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and President Masoud Pezeshkian expressed condolences to the families of the victims, with the president adding that the best efforts would be made to follow up on the situation. A local prosecutor said gas accumulation in the mine has made search operations difficult, but that the priority was to help those injured and recover people from under the rubble. Ordering an investigation into the incident, authorities said potential negligence and fault for the explosion would be dealt with at a later date. Meanwhile, Iran's labor minister told state media that the mine went through inspections last month and there were no safety regulation violations. With 76% of the country's coal coming from this region, the Tabas coal mine covers an area over 30,000 square kilometers, and according to the IRNA, is considered the richest and largest coal area in Iran. But Iran's mining sites have seen accidents rather frequently. In 2017, an explosion at a coal mine killed 43 miners, while another last year, likely caused by a methane gas leak, resulted in 6 deaths. AP News stated that lax safety standards and inadequate emergency services in mining areas were often to blame. Ian Jin, Arirang News.
The 2024 U.S. presidential election is nearing the close with polling for the two candidates, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, showing only a small margin of difference in recent opinion surveys. Our An Sung-jin takes a closer look at them.
With around 40 days left till the 2024 U.S. presidential election, the two candidates are seeing a neck-and-neck race. Democratic nominee Kamala Harris is enjoying a slight lead in a recent CBS poll released on Sunday, which was conducted on more than 3,000 registered voters. Though within the margin of error, 52% of voters responded in favor of Harris, while 48% went for Trump. In individual battleground states, the difference was even less. In a poll conducted on voters from 7 swing states, including Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Nevada, Harris was ahead by 1 to 2 percentage points compared to the former president. This comes as heated exchanges continue between the two candidates, including the call for a second debate. Harris has accepted an invitation from CNN to participate in another debate with her counterpart, as she's set to release new economic proposals this week.
Well, you probably heard I would like another debate, so I'm hoping the former vice president will agree to that. But we have a lot more to discuss.
However, Trump has turned this down.
The problem with another debate is that it's just too late. Voting has already started.
Meanwhile, in a recent appearance on TV, Trump stated that he will not run in the 2028 presidential elections if he loses. If he wins this election in November, based on the Constitution, he will be unable to run for a third term. This implies that regardless of the election results, the 2024 election will be Trump's last. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
South Korean snacks are gaining popularity around the world, as proven by our latest experts' data. On Monday, the Food Ministry revealed that the total value of outbound shipments of South Korean snacks between January and August this year reached nearly $500 million, up more than 15% compared to the same period last year. And the ministry is optimistic that this figure will exceed $700 million by the end of the year for the first time. Exports of South Korean snacks have shown a significant surge over the past 5 years, going from just over $400 million back in 2018 to over $650 million last year. Snacks have become the country's third biggest export item classified under food and agricultural goods, after ramen and tobacco. This year, we've seen several Korean musicals take the stage internationally, even in places considered the home of musicals. What's behind the rising popularity of Korean musicals? Our culture correspondent Song Yoo-jin tells us.
Broadway is a stage that many in the musical world dream of, having been the epicenter of theatrical magic for centuries. Among the bright lights and grand theaters is the Broadway Theater, one of the largest in New York City. Since April, it's been home to the musical, The Great Gatsby. The mastermind behind this show is Korean musical producer Shin Chun-soo, the first Asian to solely lead produce a Broadway musical.
Producing one of America's most beloved stories was a challenging task. I found parallels between the 1920s and the present day and aimed to capture the bittersweet irony and the tragic grandeur of Gatsby's world, expressing the emotions of the characters through the music.
With no set closing date, the production is on an open run, aiming for 5 years. This means the show will keep running as long as there is an audience wanting to see it. But The Great Gatsby is just one part of a larger story. Earlier this year, Marie Curie made a successful West End debut in London at the Charing Cross Theatre. And just this month, Frida, the Last Night Show, had its US premiere at the University of Southern California's Bing Theater. So what exactly is fueling the rise of Korean musicals on the international stage? Industry insiders say it's a combination of quality and passion. Actress Kim So-hyang, who starred in both Frida and Marie Curie in Korea, reflects on how far Korean musicals have come.
I believe it's our relentless dedication to creating something extraordinary. There's a special charm in how we craft these stories. For example, with Frida, the powerful narratives that let women voice their strength seem to mesmerize the audience.
For years, word has spread among foreign producers about the quality of Korean musicals and the talent of our actors. Government support has also helped smaller productions find opportunities abroad. In just the first half of this year, Korea staged over 9,000 performances, an impressive figure that's driving rapid growth for actors and production teams.
To keep the momentum going and help Korean musicals shine even brighter on the global stage, tailored support is essential.
The government has been supporting small original works, allowing for creative experimentation. However, larger productions need more flexibility, and the government could assist by providing infrastructure like rehearsal space or production studios. To help musical expand internationally, it could also address regulatory barriers that hinder exports.
We need to build tryout theatres where shows can test their material before full-scale premieres. Currently, musicals often jump straight from rehearsals to opening night without the chance to refine their performances.
Through these efforts, Korean musicals will be able to capture the hearts of more audiences around the world. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. Sri Lanka's presidential election on Saturday went into a second round of counting for the first time in its history, and left-leaning politician Anura Kumara Dissanayake has been declared the winner. Saturday's election results showed Dissanayake with 42.31% of votes, while his closest rival, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, tallied in at 32.76%. After no candidates managed to receive 50% of the total votes required for an election victory, Sri Lanka's election commission called for a second round of counting, which pointed to Dissanayake's victory, with over 1.2 million more votes received compared to Premadasa. Dissanayake, the 55-year-old leader of Sri Lanka's leftist JVP party, promised to revive the economy of its debt-ridden island nation by developing the agriculture, manufacturing and IT sectors, while showing commitment to continue the deal with IMF to bail Sri Lanka out of its economic crisis. Sri Lanka, following a recession that began in 2019, opted to default on its foreign debt in April 2022. The international diplomatic community at the Summit of the Future in New York adopted a Pact for the Future by consensus on Sunday. World leaders gathered at the UN headquarters on Sunday for the first day of the two-day Summit of the Future, where the blueprint for the future tackling environmental threats, technological challenges and wars was adopted by UN member states by consensus, while 7 countries, including Russia, voted against it. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres described the adopted Pact for the Future as a landmark agreement that was, quote, a step change towards more effective, inclusive, networked multilateralism. The 42-page document outlines 56 actions, including the intent to reform the UN Security Council by creating 2 permanent seats for African states and 1 seat to be rotated among small island developing nations, and an adjustment of the international financial system in favor of developing countries in the global south. The World 25-meter pole climbing championship returned to Ulster, England on Saturday, where participants in the exciting biannual event raced to the top of a 25-meter pole. In a sport where speed and skill is essential, climbers use spike shoes and a harness, along with other safety equipment, to reach the top of a pole and hit a buzzer. The winners of the 2024 edition were 27-year-old Dan Whelan in the men's category, clocking in at 9.9 seconds to win his 4th World Championship title, while Chloe Bernard took the top prize in the women's competition. Whelan also holds the world record of 8.8 seconds. Kim Xiang, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. What a dramatic change in the weather in a few days. It was only a week ago waking up to tropical nights, but now we need warmer blankets or pajamas at night with a sharp drop in low temperatures, nearly 10 degrees Celsius lower than the same time last week. But highs are rising fast to the mid to upper 20s in most parts, leading to wide gaps in readings under plenty of sunshine. Strong UV rays will be shining down nationwide, so don't forget your sunscreen and sunglasses to protect your face. Having your legs and arms in the sun will be enough to soak up vitamin D from the sunshine. Now this afternoon, Seoul and Busan should be getting up to 27 degrees Celsius. Gwangju topping out at 28 degrees with a gentle breeze and lower humidity. Clear, sunny and dry weather continues this week with the final arrival of early autumn. However, afternoon readings stay higher than norms, leading to big temperature swings. Well, that's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That's all we have at this hour. Arirang News will be back at 2 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.